I'll share my screen here and we'll dig into everything. I do have a little bit of an intro to myself on top of that, but I won't spend too much time. Let me know when you can see this clearly here.
Yep, we can see.
Awesome. I'll pull this over. All right, let's go. There we go. All right, so today I'm going to help everyone kind of better understand digital marketing. It's it's definitely a passion of mine, and I think one thing that's really important about digital marketing today is just understanding that digital marketing in 2020 is more complex than it has ever been before, and I do not see that changing in any way. And typically what I hear from a lot of business owners too is, where do I put my time, my attention, my money? There's so many different components to digital marketing. Do I run Google ads? Do I run Facebook ads? Do I launch an email marketing campaign? There's only so much time, so many resources, and often that's a common question that I get. So on top of that, not only are there so many digital marketing channels that have to be considered by a business owner, but on top of that, they're changing by the daily. And as a business owner, you just simply don't have the time for that. There's a whole bunch of different moving pieces here in digital marketing in 2020. And I mean, knowing one of the many different components is not really enough. So not only are they all changing, and not only are there more and more channels, but knowing a single channel really well typically isn't enough to succeed online in business today. So we're seeing a lot of change in that regard. On top of that, these are just a couple examples of logos that I threw in here of tools that we utilize and a lot of digital marketing agencies utilize. There are literally thousands of variations of these tools that exist today. And they are all essentially telling business owners, hey, look, if you use our tool, we're going to help you succeed online, and we're going to help identify where you should spend your time and what your competitors are doing, the data intelligence side of things. But the reality of all these tools, it's overwhelming. A, you have to decide what tools you want to utilize. B, there's a learning curve of understanding all of these tools in depth. It takes a good amount of time to go in, understand the inner workings of them. And C, they're very costly. So the typical digital marketing agency has thousands of dollars in monthly overhead on tools just like these. So with that said, you might be feeling a little bit like this guy. It's a great stock image that I had my fiance find last night when I'm kind of throwing this thing together. And in other words, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. Digital marketing is incredibly complex. It's getting more complex. There's a ridiculous amount of tools on the market that are going to apparently solve your problems, but you have to learn them, and they're very, very costly. So you're probably feeling a bit like this guy. But what I'm here to say is, don't worry. My hopes by the end of this presentation, you won't feel like that guy on the previous slide with your head exploding. My goal is to really help you better understand the direction for your business. And there's a key point in that as well. And I'm saying your business, and I think I even had it capitalized when we wrote the tagline for this, because it is your business and it's very unique. So there's many different factors into that, your industry, you as a person, your goals, what you're looking to accomplish. And all of that plays a role into it. So I'm looking to help provide a little bit of clarity and get your head thinking about a whole bunch of different areas. And at the same time, rather than getting you to spend thousands of dollars on tools, I plan to share some free tools with everyone here today that you can implement immediately to help your business succeed online. So today I'm talking on behalf of Soap Media. So Soap Media is a family-run digital marketing agency here in Ottawa, and I am a partner in the company. And our job is to help businesses succeed online. And like I said, a lot of prospects come to us and say, I want this particular thing. I'm not fully sure why, but I hear it's good. And we're looking for some clarification on, what we should be doing online. We know we need to grow as a company. We need to produce more revenue. Can you help shed some light on that? So we help businesses succeed online and kind of connect the dots. As an agency, we work with clients in all kinds of industries. So we made the decision, and it's been very beneficial in COVID. Thank God we didn't niche in tourism. but we're very diverse in regards to our clientele. So we have clients, everything from RCMP to, optometrists to, your tradespeople of flooring companies, roofing companies, animal removal, very, very diverse. And typically our clients are in Canada. We do have some clients in the US market as well. And clients typically come to us and they'll pay us like a management retainer of between $1,500 and about $20,000 a month is our management. So there's a big range there. And anyone on the call who's like, okay, that's a lot. I don't want to listen any further. Don't worry. One of the points of coming on this today was to kind of share a little bit of an offer that we are doing, and it's free, and you can't get any better than that. So I'm very passionate about helping businesses succeed, and I've helped businesses pro bono over the years. And that's one thing too that I wanted to come on this call today was to offer was what we call a free discovery call. So 20 minutes with myself on a call where I'll ask you the right questions. It might even be sometimes even questions you might not even be asking yourself. Everything about your competitors, your target market, your goals as an individual for the company. And then we'll go and we have the opportunity to give you some insights for free. And typically we'll charge for that, but it's something we're looking to push in light of COVID. And it's also kind of a feel-good thing for us. So keep that in mind. So that's Soap Media. Who am I? As Margaret Ann might have said, like no trust. People do business with people. And I won't talk too much about myself, but a little bit about the company. Who I am, as Denny was mentioning, was I was a very shy kid growing up. I was an introvert. Spent a lot of time on my computer, video games initially, and then it turned into software and hardware and marketing and learning about what this internet thing was and all the opportunities that exist inside of it. And if anyone wants to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. So just type in Jesse Perrault, you can add me on there. LinkedIn was my platform of choice. And I knew that for a while too. I'm on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I don't do much on Facebook. I kind of doubled down on a single platform, and something too that I recommend you look at for your presence. I chose B2B because I knew I'd likely be in the agency world, so to speak, for a long time, and I was also that kid that spoke about business when all my friends were partying, so I knew it was kind of a place for me. So feel free to connect with me here. LinkedIn's a big part of my journey, and one of those things is my coffees. So I know we have Bobby on here, so I like coffee, Bobby. And I did 500 coffees in 500 hours. So the thing that Denny mentioned about me being an introvert and the whole mentality of you got to make yourself uncomfortable before you'll ever become comfortable. It's about kind of pushing yourself. And this was kind of a social experiment that I ran over many years, a lot of coffees, obviously over 500. And I use LinkedIn as my platform to do it. I won't go too much into this. I have a whole other presentation on this type of thing. But essentially, I reached out to people on LinkedIn and asked them for coffee. I highly encourage you do that. Now with COVID, you get virtual coffee or tea. It's a little bit different now. And the key component of my journey was documenting it. And I highly suggest you document your journey. So you can see on the left, I'm in a coffee shop. On the right, I'm in the tweed factory. And I would just start to take, I go have my coffee, and at the end of the coffee, I'd say, hey, do you mind if I shoot a video with you? And they're like, sure, I have no idea what you're going to talk about. Or I take a photo. And what this did was over time, it started with a couple views, 100 views, 1,000 views, and then eventually exceeded over 1 million views on LinkedIn between all my different content. And there's one thing about, which I think is great about Connect Ottawa, is associations and the power of associations. So people start to say, oh, well, I keep seeing this guy on LinkedIn. He's meeting all these people for coffee and talking about different business concepts, etc. Highly encourage you do it. It was very fulfilling and very rewarding. And then eventually that led to me meeting a guy in the construction industry who's a friend of mine now. We had coffee, we met, I liked them. And he's like, I know a bunch of people in construction, you know a bunch of people in business and tech. Let's get those people together. They're very different, personas, so to speak. And we started the first official LinkedIn social event at the Barley Mow in Stittsville. We had 75 people turn out. I've never organized an event in my life. And then the second one was at Salas San Marco. There I am and my beautiful fiance. and we had about 120 people turn out to that event as well. And then eventually I got involved with the official LinkedIn local Ottawa events and organizing them and speaking at them. So that's enough about me. If you want to talk more about like the coffee thing, we can definitely do that, as I have another presentation for that. We're going to be talking about marketing, and particularly digital marketing. Now, when I knew I was presenting today, I had to make a decision. Do I focus on one area of digital marketing, or do I talk about a lot of different things? Because like I said, it's very complex and there's a lot of different things. And in my research of presentations, aka kind of the first Google result that came up, said not to do what I'm doing today and talk about a whole bunch of different things because it might be overwhelming. But if you feel that way, like I said at the very end, we can have a call and I can help provide additional clarification. And my goal is really at the end of the day to help you understand that you need to have the pieces come together. I've worked with so many companies and so many industries, and if you can really master one, but you should really understand that to be successful and really successful online, you have to understand all the different pieces, and you don't have to be a master at all of them, but having a little bit of understanding of all the different pieces can make a massive, massive difference. And the challenge that what I'm going to be pushing today is like getting you thinking about, all these different pieces and how they come together in your business. So the very first thing, when a prospect comes to us is, they might say, I'm looking for this type of service. I typically ask them, why that might be. Maybe a friend, maybe they have past successes, or a friend referred them to us or to use that service. It could be search engine optimization or Facebook ads. The very first thing I need a business owner to think about is the foundation. And that foundation typically is in the form of a website. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I've worked with businesses that do very well on literally just Facebook pages and stuff, but typically it's a website. And the reason that's important is, we could do our due diligence and work really hard, send a ton of targeted traffic to your website. And if your website is just super, super poor, you're going to lose out on a ton of opportunity. So the very first thing to consider is, and ask yourself is, what is my foundation? Is it a website? Is it a page? How's that optimized? And then the questions to ask yourself further is, what's the goal of this? Are you trying to push for phone calls? Are you trying to push for form completions? How do you make that very clear to the end user, the person that's in a due diligence process of determining if they should use your product or service versus your competitors? So make sure it's very, very clear to the user. Identify that goal, and then have credibility elements. What makes you credible? And then lastly, what is the value you're giving to them? If understand, put yourself in their shoes, is what's probably the biggest pain of all marketers, where marketers go wrong, is they think that their thoughts are everyone's thoughts. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the person that would be buying that, and ask yourself, is my foundation communicating successfully to the individual that would be buying my product or service? This is not a client of ours. It's actually a client I worked with years and years ago at another company. I just always liked the site, and I think it was built by Yellow Pages or something, so I'll give them credit for that. Free tools. I talked about free tools. This is a very simple one. If you go to Google and you type in mobile friendly test, once again, we're talking about websites as a foundation. You can put your website URL into this, and it'll tell you if your website's mobile friendly. Now, that might be old news to a lot of people in the industry of digital marketing. It's just as relevant today as it was years ago. And it's relevant in a bunch of different ways. If we look at industry trends, obviously mobile is increasing in usage. Less and less people are on desktop, and tablet. Mobile is the dominating device. So if you think about, majority of people are going to be accessing your foundation or your website on a mobile device, you want to make sure it's mobile friendly. And that's important because if it's mobile friendly, you're going to increase the amount of people that go to, so we call it conversion rates. So the people that go to your site versus the amount of people that complete the desired action you're looking for them to take. So it's good for user experience, and it's also good for Google. So we'll talk about search engine optimization a little bit on this, but it's a great signal to Google. If your site is not mobile optimized and it looks horrible on mobile and people are having trouble navigating it, Google sees that and they say, well, all your competitors have this mastered. You don't. Why should we rank you when someone types for whatever term it may be of your industry into Google? So I suggest checking in this tool out, mobile friendly test. The next component is another free tool, Page Speed Insights. So you can throw your website into this as well, and it's going to tell you a bunch of information about your load times, your performance of your website. Now, there's a lot of technical details. I'm not going to get into it. Like I said, I'll try to keep it as high level as possible. But this is going to give you an understanding of, it will give you a little, take these tools with a grain of salt. They are free, so you can throw your URL in here a few times, and they might change the statistics slightly, but it's fairly accurate, and it's by Google. And it will give you an idea of the load times. Load times are important for your website. We live in a day and age where people expect things fast. And if it is not fast, they will find someone that will give it to them fast and address what they're looking for. And it just is an increasing trend. And this is, once again, a factor that Google will look at when it comes to considering whether or not they should rank your business on Google. And you will also lose a lot of traffic. People will just bounce and leave your website if it's loading or if it's taking way too long. So I highly suggest using this tool to analyze your website load times, as it's a factor for the user. And ultimately, whenever it's a factor for the user, it's a factor for making Google happy, because Google relies on that. So we talked about the websites. I gave you a couple of tools of checking a few elements of the websites out that are important. This looks like a lot here. The next free thing that needs to always be considered is Google Analytics. Make sure you have Google Analytics on your website. It's free. It's daunting. Whenever we talk about data today, data is used so widely. I think it scares a lot of people. But for the most part, people that have analytics set up on their site, on the overview page, you'll be able to interpret that data. If you run a website right now, and I've seen people that do this, they have a website and they don't know how many people are going to their website, or maybe they know that, but they don't know how long they're spending on the website. They don't know the behaviors of those people. They don't even know the age or the gender of the people on the website. And that's like owning, a brick and mortar store, people walking in, and you don't even know who's walking in. You don't know how many people are walking in. It's like putting a blind eye to that. So the next step on a foundation is the data, and that's analytics. We take it a step further as an agency of, I talk about in digital marketing, there's so many different channels where, the justification of hiring an agency is how much are they paying us? How much are they paying, say ad dollars, and what's the return? So this is just an example of a couple of different channels. So you have paid search, which would be Google Ads. You have organic search, which would be search engine optimization. And we track goals, so we can set up the goals. How many goals are coming from all these different efforts that we're doing? It's important to know, if you're putting time into something, what is the return I'm getting from that? It could be certain goals, and you can take it a step further where it could be very monetarily driven. How much money I'm spending, how much money we created off of that spend. And this is where you'll get to. But initially, create Google Ads, and at least you'll get the overview data. And if you have additional questions on some of the other reports that are a little bit more technical, I can always help as well on that. Understanding Google's search engine result page. I know Stephen was on here recently from Salient Marketing, and he was talking about this, so I won't spend too much time, but it's important to understand. When you type something in Google, the top real estate is always advertising, and it's always indicated by seeing the little ad icon beside the results. You have the little map area, the local map. Its technical term is snack pack. I don't know who named it, but you can have ads in there as well. So the way ads work is when somebody clicks on this, it is going to charge them ad dollars. So they are paying for this exposure. So anytime somebody clicks on that, it is going to cost them. And this becomes a very mathematical game. Basically, let's take Perrault Roofing, for example. They know that X amount of clicks are required to get a lead. They know how many leads it takes to get a sale. And it becomes very mathematical of how much it costs to generate leads, or how much it costs to generate a certain amount of revenue. And if the numbers make sense, and you can grow and scale. And we leverage this all the time as an agency to grow with our clients, where I would say almost every client we have now is at a much higher retainer with us than when we started. And we focus on retention with clients for that reason. And one of the things that determines what those click costs are in that ad real estate is there's a bid range. So there's another free tool that you can use for your business, and it's just Google Keyword Planner. And essentially, you type in that same example. The only thing you have to consider is changing the location to the location you do business in this case, Ottawa. Put in roofer Ottawa. It's going to tell you the exact search volume, how many people in Ottawa are searching for that term. And it's going to give you other ideas or variations of that. Now, it gives you, so the variations, the volume, and then you're going to see on the right-hand side here, there's two different bid ranges. So for example, roofer Ottawa, you have $7 low end and about almost $16 on the high end. Common question I get is what determines if I'm paying $7 a click or $16 a click? Obviously, I want to pay $7 a click because I'll get a lot more traffic. And once again, it's a justification of hiring a digital marketing agency, a freelancer, a marketer, or you can even do it yourself. I know a few business owners that can manage this very well themselves, and they run very lean and do very well. And essentially what that is that's determined by Google. So if you think about Google, Google is, Google exists. It's like a truth serum. We put our deepest, darkest secrets into Google because we trust it, which is crazy. But it's because we rely on the result, and ads are no different. So Google basically says, I will reward you as an advertiser if you're giving a good result. So think about it like this. If I were to type in blue water bottle, because I want to buy a blue water bottle for whatever reason, and I see a roofing company ad come up, that's not relevant to me. So Google's going to make them pay more for that. And without getting into too much nitty gritty detail, the way to look at it is what someone types into Google, the ad you show them, and the page they go to should be seamless. So if I'm typing blue water bottle into Google, the ad should say blue water bottle because that's what the user is looking for. Maybe some enticement factors, a promo that will make them unique compared to all the other ads. And then they click that, and then they're going to go to a page with the promo and the blue water bottle. If you make that seamless, you're going to be paying on the lower end. And that's something to be mindful of if you do take the Google Ads route. And once again, Google Ads might not make sense for all businesses. If you're selling fidget spinners for $2.50 and a click cost is $1, we're not going to recommend that. So these are different things in regards to the due diligence that an agency or a marketing person would make to help you determine what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Below that real estate, so these are no longer ads. There's no ad icon beside these. This is what we refer to as organic search. And that is the process of search engine optimization. The number one thing I would say with search engine optimization is if a company comes to you and tells you that I can get you number one on Google in a month, I can get you number one on Google in 3 months, even 6 months, depending on where you're currently positioned for the term that you want to come up for, I would be very weary. It's a long-term process, and anything good on the search engine optimization side of things does take time. And I'll talk to you about just a couple elements to consider for this. But the way this works is you're not paying per click. So we talked about, Roofer Ottawa has 1,000 searches. A lot of people will click those ads at the top and they will engage. When somebody clicks Roofmaster or Sanderson Roofing, well, they're not being charged for those clicks. The only cost to you as a business owner is the cost of optimizing and telling Google, hey, we want to come up for this. And Google determines that through a ridiculous amount of factors that I won't get into, but I'll kind of summarize what those factors are for you. So before I do that, if anyone's familiar with Neil Patel, awesome. If not, check him out. He's kind of a guru in the space. Most digital marketing individuals know who he is. He has a free tool, so another free tool of Uber Suggest, UBER, so like Uber the company, Suggest. And he's put a lot of time and money in this over the last couple of years. And he's got, I believe it's got an integration with Google because he gets very accurate data. But this is going to give you an understanding of SEO difficulty. So you can see a little bit of the difficulty on the paid side through Google's keyword planner, but this is going to help you understand from an SEO perspective, do I work towards a keyword? And as an agency, so you might say, okay, well, I'm a window cleaning company, window cleaning Ottawa. That's what I want to come up in Google for. And I don't want to pay on a per click basis. I don't want to run ads. I want to rank organically through search engine optimization. There's a couple factors. So I suggest using Uber Suggest to help you determine this. Number one, the first thing to look at is what is the keyword, the word that someone would be typing into Google to come across your site. The first factor is relevance. How relevant is that to my business? If they type this into Google, is there a high likelihood that they will buy my product or service? Is my offering what they're looking for? The second factor is search volume. How many times does this get searched in a month? If it's 10 searches in a month and you spend all this time trying to rank for a keyword, sure, it's relevant to your business, but if it's not getting the search volume, it might not be worth it, because if you get 10 searches versus 1,000, there's a big difference there, especially from a revenue standpoint. And then the last factor is SEO difficulty. How difficult is it to rank for? And we weigh those three variables when determining a keyword list. So relevance, what is the search volume, and how difficult is it? There's times where we have clients where, yeah, we know a keyword has a much higher search volume, but we know the effort to rank for it is just not worth it. And we're going to go and get something with lower search volume, still relevant, but we're actually going to, we have a much higher probability of obtaining the rankings to get traffic through search engine optimization. So in SEO, you don't have to know too much. It's very technical, and I can have a whole presentation on it. But there's two sides of it. There's really on-site and off-site are the primary components. And the way to look at it is on-site is your website. So that is communicating to Google. There's a lot of technical details of how to communicate to Google, what you want your pages to rank for. But a couple things to consider right off the bat are, is it mobile friendly, as I mentioned before? Is it loading fast? You know, we have a whole process of just optimizing our clients' sites just for load time, so they load faster, because Google takes that into account. And then content. You need content, because Google's going to look at your website and your competitors and say they understand the user more than you do. They go to your website for, let's say it's raccoon removal Toronto. We have a client in that space, raccoon removal Toronto, and you have a whole thing on raccoon removal Toronto, and it's written content, and then your competitor has one as well. But if your competitor gives way more value and people are spending more time on it, more likely to engage, Google sees that. So that is your on-site, that's your website. Off-site, I won't get into too much detail, but the largest component of that is what we refer to as backlinks. And the backlink is essentially, so let's say I'm an animal removal company, and I write this blog on this really great new technology that we're using as a company to get animals humanely, capture them, and release them to the wild. Well, then all of a sudden, news picks up on that. You reach out to bloggers start writing about it. And as soon as these other websites start discussing your website, Google sees that, and they see it through a link transfer. So let's say CBC picks up on this article and they say, XYZ animal removal company in Toronto has this new technology. That will be a link to your website. And we refer to that as link juice. Google says, hey, this is a credible website. It's relevant, it's popular, and they're pointing to this website for this particular industry. And Google sees that as an authority transfer. And the more of those you have, the better chances to rank for the keywords that you determine. So you have to look at it at two sides. There's on-site and off-site, and I won't go too much more into detail on that. I'm just getting your brain thinking here on that. Other elements, so social media. I mentioned I niched in particular, the poutine looks really good. A niche in particular on LinkedIn, identified that as my platform. It's the nature of B2B. So if you're in a B2B business, LinkedIn is where you should 100% be. This is actually a client of ours in the Orleans area. It's a very, very small little restaurant joint in Orleans. And it's perfect to be on Facebook and Instagram for this. Home-based purchases as well. Facebook's a really good platform for as well. So I want to talk a little bit about social media posting and what this looks like, because I see a lot of do's and don'ts come up frequently. The number one thing that I see go wrong is people say, it's a buy, I'm selling you mentality, and it's very wrong. Where it's my product, here's my product, or here's my service, and people, you have to ask yourself the value on the other side of that. So here's an example of a very different content mix. We do have a promo on the left-hand side of a limited time promo of a product. In the middle, we have what appears to be a patio. And Jesse, the client here, does a great job of this. And it comes back to documenting your journey, not just as a business, but as an individual. People connect with people, as we've discussed before. And this is an example of the patio, you know, it's got 5,000 reach. He never paid a penny for that. You just made this post and took a photo. Every business wants that, right? But he documented the journey up to that point. You know, he started with a couple pieces of wood. You know, we're building a patio. He's building suspense. Then, you know, halfway there, he posted another post. Each one of those is re-attracting people. And then finally, the finished product. Hey, we have a patio now available for everybody. And then on the right side, you know, some Halloween fun. You can diversify and have, you know, here's some community involvement. Here's some things that we're doing. Or something that's a personal preference to yourself. And I say that tread carefully when it comes to anything like religion, politics, etc. Don't bother with that. But if you, let's say you're a fan of NBA and you notice Kobe Bryant passed away and you're a big Kobe Bryant fan, you could post that. That's not going to, sure, some people might not have liked them, but they're going to understand. And the people that do follow you, your business and you as a person, they might appreciate that and say, yeah, I know, I saw that. And it starts a conversation. And you'll see that all these have, you know, engagement, likes, comments, shares, and that's the nature of social media. So that's the organic side of social media, posting and not spending any money. This is the paid advertising side of it. So this is an ad that we launched. It was a quick video in the Orleans area. And we launched it, yeah, so July 13th is the date on it. We wrote the copy, we ran it. And I think this literally had a couple $100 of ad dollars on it. And it was very successful. The same way Google has their quality score criteria, like I mentioned, when someone types into Google, what they see, what they go to. Facebook's the same way. All these ad networks, that's what they're referred to as, have the same component. This was perfect across the board. And this year, you know, a couple $100 spend got a lot of amplification. And there's one interesting thing when you use advertising on Facebook and Instagram that you need to consider that is different than Google. On Google, someone types something into Google, they're going to click it and they might buy from you. That'd be the first interaction. But Facebook and Instagram has the social aspect of it. And it's something to consider for your business if you think you can leverage that. So this is a video that we put ad dollars in. You can see it's got, you know, over 315. We refer to that as social proof. So the likes, comments, shares. It helps say, hey, this is more credible. I should give this consideration. That's one thing. But also, if you look at the share aspect, this is a big benefit of Facebook and Instagram advertising is, yes, we put ad dollars into it. And let's say this got 40,000 views. And, you know, sometimes you get a phone number, you can have a link to your site where people purchase and you can track all that. But this has 83 shares. And those 83 shares, you're not paying for that. So that's one thing to consider when you're doing advertising on social media is you can use what we call like social amplification. It's like a snowball effect. And of those 83 shares, a few of those people might have shared it. And you're no longer paying for that reach. That is organic reach that you're getting more exposure off of your base ad. And that's one thing to consider. So with all that said, there's another tool that you can use, another free tool if you're interested, and that's Facebook Ad Library. If you look up Facebook Ad Library, Facebook has to disclose what your competitors are advertising. So when you go to the tool, it's first going to be opted into politics, elections. You're going to want to hit all ads. It's just, you know, given the circumstances right now, hit all ads to actually see the ads your competitors are using. And then all you have to do is you have to type in your competitor's Facebook page, and it's going to show you all their ads that they're running right now. And it's going to tell you what platforms they're on as well. So if you look at these at the very top of them, there's a Facebook icon and Instagram icon. So I know that this company, Remember Me Roofing, is running these ads on Facebook and Instagram. They deployed it and launched it on July 27th. This is the ad copy they're using. These are the images they're using. These are the videos they're using. This is a free tool. Yes, there are a lot more competitive tools that will tell you a bit more insights in the performance of those, but this will give you some insights into what they're running. You can look at McDonald's. An interesting thing, if you look at McDonald's, they don't use any sort of copy. It's literally just a video of their product. So you can play with that as well. Now, I could go on and on. I don't know what our time is. I'm not doing the best job tracking that, but I could go on and on. I could talk about email marketing. I could dig way further into these, get a lot more technical. But at the end of the day, like I said, the very beginning, right now, Soap Media has, we're doing a free discovery call, free insights, just to help businesses. And it's something during COVID, I've personally taken some time and helped a few businesses stay afloat, just by pointing them in the right direction. So I hope if anything was accomplished in this and you're not overwhelmed, you might be a little overwhelmed. That's kind of inevitable, but you're thinking about, okay, so maybe there's other opportunities out there. I first have to look at the foundation, and then I have to look at the channels that I'm going to use to market my business, and then use some of these tools that I mentioned to help you determine that. And if you're frustrated with that, you can always give me a call, reach out to me. We'll have a quick discovery call, and then I'll make an individualized personal video for you of all the research we've done and our recommendations. I'll tell you the cost, sure, of what it would look like to work with us, but either way, you will have that to implement, and I don't expect you to work with us. So in a nutshell, that's the presentation, and I thank all of you for joining me today.